Al Snow. Al, thank you for joining us, sir.
Thank you.
What does everybody want?
Does that get annoying after a while?
No, not at all.
Really?
So there.
Is there anything that gets old?
What?
Probably
Besides-
me.
Well, all of it, yeah, well, that's a good point. Me too.
Boy, did you open that door. Oh, my Lord.
Al, before we get into some wrestling, I just want to ask you, how are you holding up during the COVID era and what's going on in this country right now with the civil unrest that's going on?
I'm doing okay. I mean, it's sad to see the situations that are out there and that are existing and going on at this time. But, we're a great country. I mean, we really, truly are. For people that have not been outside of this country and seen the rest of the world, believe me, we are genuinely blessed here. We've got our problems, we have our issues, but we always see our way through it, and I think we will see our way through all of this as well.
So you think there is a future for this country?
Of course, yes.
Do you think things have changed as far as what's going on? Are people just more aware and getting involved? I mean,
Well, I think because of social media and the internet, people are more aware of everything nowadays. The access to information is unprecedented. And the level of sophistication of the general population is at a much greater rate now than ever before. People were not stupid or not less intelligent. They were just more simplistic because their worldview was limited to their access. And now we have, as a kid, a 7-year-old kid can access a real-time video of the Antarctic. So that viewpoint and that level of sophistication for a general audience or a general population is going to be exponentially greater.
is that a good thing, though?
Absolutely, yeah. Because we have to, I think in some ways, I think it's a good thing. I think getting to where we are in society these days, in this country especially, we have it so well that we are now starting to have the ability to focus on a lot of things and be triggered or offended by the least likely comment or expression by an opposing viewpoint, and lash out and try to cancel those people out as quick as possible, because we have the freedom to do it now.
Where do you feel the media falls in as far as their responsibility? While it's true that we have an absolute, almost unlimited amount of information, what concerns me is the accuracy of aforementioned information. Where do you think the media's responsibility should lie? Should there be some sort of, and this may sound controversial, but do you think the government should do something?
No.
So how do, as citizens, we properly digest all this information when we do know some of it is completely misleading?
You have to be self-responsible.
Fair enough.
It's a fascinating concept.
Fair enough.
But for every right that you have as a U.S. citizen or as a human being, you have a responsibility that is commensurate to that right.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a right to free speech, but you have a responsibility to use it in the correct manner.
Well, use it without an agenda, right?
Correct. I mean, you're free to do whatever you want, but you have the responsibility to behave in a civil manner by exercising that freedom, and just because somebody doesn't agree with you or doesn't see your viewpoint doesn't mean that you now have to cast stones at that person.
Right.
Because that now, it's a two-way street. They may not agree with you, and you don't want them to cast stones at you because they just don't agree with you. You have to understand that for every right you have a responsibility.
True.
And if you're willing to give up those rights, or I should say, if you're willing to give up those responsibilities, then you're willing to give up those rights. Simple as that. If somebody, I try to explain this to my own kids. When my children were young, I got to make all the decisions. The reason I did was because I bared the brunt, I paid the cost for every one of those choices that were made, because they could not make them themselves, because they couldn't bear the price. As they got older, they got to make more decisions, because they got to bear more of the consequence, more of the price of those decisions. And conversely, as they got older and older, now they're adults, they have their own kids, I can't tell them anything. I can give them advice, but I can't tell them anything because I no longer bear the responsibility of any of those choices or decisions. But the same goes as a person in the country, in a civilization, in the United States. I have a right and I have a responsibility. And if I have a special interest group that's willing to take that responsibility over for me, it means that now I no longer have the right to exercise it in the proper manner, in the way that I feel. You know, let's say, for instance, you know, you have those special interest groups that are wanting to police TV and wanting to make sure your children only watch certain programming. Look, I've said this before and I'll say it 1,000 times. I've raised my kids. Okay, I've never asked the teachers to raise them. I've never asked the postman to raise them. I've never asked the neighbors to raise them. I raised them. And I raised them in accordance to what my beliefs were and my moral values. Okay? If my children were to ever look outside of my front door to you or anyone else as a role model, then I'm clearly not doing my job as a parent.